This time we check the valves in our BSA A10. Okay, so today we're going to do some servicing work on our BSA A10. First things first, better pull it out of the garage. So we're going to do service work. The first thing you need to do if you're in a complete service is the valves, because the engine has to be stone cold. You must not start the engine before doing a valve check. You're not going to get an accurate reading if you do. So we'll take the tank off from the seat and then we can get the valves. So as you gain access, you've got a couple of bolts on the side, just in there. Got to undo to get the seat off. Now you've got one central bolt on BSA's, which is just under this bolt. So you need a socket on that, and then you get the tank off. Let's do it first. The seat's simply held on with a couple of half-inch nuts and bolts. You see right there, it's just one each side. So underneath the seat you can see how wonderfully simple these things are. There's your battery, there's your oil tank, the breather for the oil tank. See, there's very little under here really. Let's remove the gas tank. So pull this plug out underneath. There is a nut to remove to loosen it off. Just need a socket on there. So I've got my Imperial 5/8 and just start that simple. Okay, now we've just got to undo the hose. You've got two hoses on this side, one on the other side. You've got two tabs. Just got to make sure the tap's closed, under the hoses, and we're away. Here's this one off. There's a tap there. Let's go to the other side now. You can see under there, but we've got these two bolts. There's a central bar that runs underneath, across the frame, under the frame, joins the two sides of the tank together, just there. Just got to unbolt those so you can remove the tank. central bolt. So with the tap removed, you get a really good view of the power unit. You can see access. It's pretty good. Not motor gives you good, but pretty good. So what we're going to do now is undo these, remove these covers at the front and the back, and the valves are right underneath there. A bit tighter, a little bit. Go. Shouldn't really need to pry something like this, it should come off easy. Okay, so that's the cover removed. Left the gasket in place, just tap that down a second, and you can see, you should be able to see the valves inside. And there's the tappet adjusters just there. Now do the same on the inlet, and then we can move on. So if you're struggling for a correct sized imperial spanner, an 11mm spanner will actually fit on these. Just try that. You'll often find there's a metric which is close enough if you're short of imperial spanners. On this one there's 7/16, but 11mm is really close, so it will take it off. Because one of them, the access is really poor, so I can't put the socket onto it. I can get the 11mm spanner. And that's the inlet. It's a really nice view of the valves. The access isn't bad at all. Once you get the tank off, not too bad. Now at the point we can adjust the valves. The problem is, we'll be able to turn it very easily. What we can do is put the bike in gear and turn it that way. But with the plugs in, it'd be really difficult. So we'll take the plugs out, get rid of compression, and then we should be able to roll the bike over really easy. give these a clean later as well. Because the bike's got a 360 crank, checking the valves is really simple. All you've got to do is rotate the engine until the inlet valve on one side is fully open, and then you can check the gap on the opposite side. Then you reverse the procedure, get this valve fully open and check this valve on this side. And it's exactly the same for the exhaust. So when one valve is fully open, the other valve should be fully closed and you can check the gap. So we'll just rotate the engine. Carefully rotate the engine. This valve is now fully open and this one now has a gap. So I've just got to check that gap with some feeler gauges. I'll do it in a sec, and then we'll see what we're going to do. Okay, so here's the manual. And the manual, we've got a 54 model, so 51 to 54 A10, which is 0.01 of an inch. I haven't got imperial, but I do know that 0.01 of an inch is 0.25 of a mil, so we'll set it up that way. This is my 0.25 of a mil, and it does go in. It's a little bit tight. You can see that it does actually go in, so measuring about that, maybe a tad tight, but overall not bad. So that hasn't moved to do it last. So to adjust the valves, you've got a lock nut and then the valve screw itself. And to adjust them, what we've got is an 11mm spanner, which fits very nicely onto these. And this is a 6mm spanner that I've actually filed out, so it just fits on nicely. Okay, so what we're going to do, place the adjuster itself and undo the lock nut carefully. There we go. Let's come off slightly. I just shove the feeler gauge, it's still tight, so just going to back this off a tiny amount. Just about there, feels about right. It's just a bit of movement left. What I'm going to try and do now is do this lock nut back up, hopefully without moving this one. Once you've done that though, once you've tightened it, you should recheck it. It will tend to move a little bit. The best one in the world. Okay, so that's tight. That feels pretty good. Taking these away, see the feeler gauge is in there now, and it's just a bit of resistance, nothing too tight, it just goes in nice. You can feel the edges, so it's in there and the gap isn't too big. It's about perfect, I reckon. So what we're going to do now is turn the engine over to get this valve fully open so we can check
the valve on the other side. Then we'll do the same for the exhaust.
So this valve has just opened. Right, so that's now fully open. That's the valve I've just adjusted. Now I'm going to check, do the same thing on this side. You see the gap there. Okay, so a similar story on this side. This one, again, very slightly tight. It'll go in, but it's tight. So we're just going to loosen that nut off, wind that out a little bit, and set our new gap. Oh, that one's tight. Right, so that is both inlet valves set. Fab. So at the front of the engine now for the exhaust valves, and we've got to do the same thing again. One open, one closed. So if you can see that okay. There's the rocker. Here's the gap here. It goes in pretty well actually. A little bit of resistance but not too much. So I reckon that one's okay. Okay, so that's all the valves done. It's a good idea to check the gap actually when you haven't got the spanners on as well afterwards, just to make sure you're not giving yourself a false reading because of the weight of the spanners. Shouldn't make any difference, but you never know. And that's the valves done. Easy peasy. Well, I hope you found that video useful. If you did, don't forget to like and subscribe, and of course, thanks for watching.